Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution.
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 You want a revolution?
You say you want a revolution?
Revolution. The revolution.
It's going on right now.
Welcome to The Revolution, the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we ask today's most successful entrepreneurs to share the tools and strategies they use to build relationships and connections to grow their revenue. Now, your host for The Revolution, John Corcoran.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here, the host of the Smart Business Revolution podcast. And as you know, I talk every week with interesting CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs of companies and organizations like YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard, LendingTree, OpenTable. Many different members of EO have been a guest on this show, including today's guest, which we'll get to in a moment. I'm also the co-founder of Rise 25, where we help to connect B2B business owners to their ideal prospects. And first, before I get to today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to our client, Fran Biederman Gross of Advantages. You can check out her podcast, Drive Profit with Purpose. And she has interviewed Jack Daly and Mike Michalowicz, Tommy Mello, and a bunch of other interesting guests. And she introduced us to our guest today, who is Andrea Herrera. Andrea Herrera is the founder and president of Amazing Edibles Catering, an award-winning catering company in the Chicago area. And she's built an amazing team there, and her mission is to foster connection, to create community, and they've served over 1 million meals in Chicago over the past 25 years. But of course, we're recording this in the beginning of July of 2020, and starting in about March or April of this year, the coronavirus pandemic hit. And so she quickly realized that their company was going to be pretty much decimated by this, at least in the short term. And so she had to pivot very quickly. So this interview is going to really be talking about how she went about doing that and forming a new business, which is called Boxperience, which solves the challenges of connecting with top clients in a world where lunches and dinners are no longer an option. So we're going to be talking about what is involved in that. She's also been very involved in EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, which is a global organization of 15,000 members serving on the Global Leadership Committee. She's also served on the president of the Chicago chapter of EO, chair of the Accelerator Program, and a number of different roles as well. Now, first, before we get into this interview, this episode was brought to you by Rise 25 Media. And through Rise 25, we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with done-for-you podcasts and content marketing. And if you're listening to this, you've ever thought, should I do a podcast? Well, I say, yeah, you certainly should, because it will help you to connect with amazing people. And we really specialize in helping B2B businesses with a high client lifetime value. So if that's you, give us a call or shoot us an email at support@Rise25Media, or come check out rise25media.com for some videos on how it works. So Andrea, it's super excited to have you on here and to talk about your story. And let's just start where we're at right now, because this is July of 2020. And tell us what it was like in March or April as you had this slow-moving train and you realized that this business you built over 25 years was kind of going off the rails. What were the indicators like, and what was it like for you experiencing that? And at what point did you realize, I'm going to have to completely reinvent myself, at least in the short term?
Sure. Thanks for asking, and thank you for having me. So I've had Amazing Edibles for 25 years, and we've gone through 2008, and we went through 9/11, and when the coronavirus first came up, a few people started canceling orders, and I kind of held my breath a little bit. And on March 11th, which was a Wednesday, we had a ton of people call and cancel for the next couple of weeks. And so by Thursday afternoon, March 12th, about 70% of our future work for the next month had canceled. So I went home that night and thought about it and realized that I had to act quickly and decisively. I survived the last couple huge catastrophic hits that small companies took in those time periods, but I knew I waited too long last time. I was expecting a big drop in revenue, and payroll is one of our biggest expenses. So I laid off 85% of our staff on Friday, March 13th.
Wow.
And then kind of held my breath and went forward. And about 2 weeks later, everything else started canceling and the coronavirus numbers started getting larger. And I started looking around for what else could I do. We did family meal service. We did first responder meals. We kept in touch with our clients, and our clients ordered family meals, and we did about 10,000 first responder meals in those first 2 months. But by early April, I was on a call on a Saturday night with a bunch of women of EO. We all kind of talked about where we're at, and I was the person that was down 95% in sales. And
you were a multi-million-dollar business by this point.
Yes, I was a multi-million-dollar business, and it disappeared. And Q1, January, February, March, is traditionally a slow time of year for us. April, everything starts hitting. So we were halfway through March, which was an okay month, but ready for, we do a half-hour work with universities for orientations and graduations and wedding season, and just everything was going to start popping. And it just all started disappearing as schools closed, all of our spring events canceled. So I was on the phone with a bunch of people, and there was a really great statement, which was ask for help. Like, you don't have to do this alone. You're part of EO. You are part of these entrepreneurial communities. Ask for help. So Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, I sent a note and I said, I have a 5,000 square foot kitchen. I have culinary talent. I have connections to industry and to universities and not-for-profits. Give me 15 minutes of your time today with some ideas about what I can do. I sent this to about 30 people, and was really grateful to get lots of messages and calls back with ideas on how I should perhaps pivot. Spent a lot of time on the phone that day. And one of the people I was with said, you need a new business by May 1st. Amazing Edibles may have to hibernate. It doesn't have to go away forever, but in all likelihood, the amount of catering work that's going to exist. Generally, we don't do events for less than 25 or 30 people, mostly 50 to 500 people, which almost everywhere has been illegal the last 4 months. And so mid-April, I figured out my new company I had to have open by May 1st, which was Boxperience. I chose.
Where did that idea come from? Was it a combination of different people, or did someone say, here's what you should do?
I was talking with a friend who works for a big corporation as a salesperson, and he was going nuts because he usually flies around the world, flies around the country 2 or 3 weeks out of the month seeing clients, and he couldn't go to lunch with them. He couldn't take them to dinner. He couldn't take them to a ball game, and couldn't connect with them. And my thing is connection. So I tried to figure out how could I take the experience of connecting with people, of bread-breaking experiences that I do through catering, and move it to my clients or to new clients to share experiences with their clients. And so it started coming together. I spoke with Fran Biederman Gross of Advantages, and she really helped me kind of formulate a brand. I had another friend who helped me put together my sales manual, and I dug in, and my staff that I kept at Amazing Edibles worked on the Amazing Edibles side of the business, because we have we're at about 10% of our revenue right now of what it should be, which is not enough. But I figured if I could do 10% there, if I could do 50 grand in catering and 50 grand in Boxperience every month, I could breathe. So we are now 5 weeks in, and we made our first month sales goal, which was
good.
Awesome.
And how did you reach out to all your existing client base and just tell all of them? And
I did some of that, but my existing client base, not-for-profits and universities, really weren't going to be buying these. So it's actually
it's actually a pivot to a new kind of buyer then. Yeah.
I needed a 1% business. Mm-hmm. I wanted a business that I was going to send to people whose industries were particularly resilient in this time period, because I need them to spend money.
Right.
My catering is kind of an extra.
And this is, tell them what you get, because this is really cool. You get a box that has the name of the recipient on it, right?
Let me show you.
Okay, that's even better. She is, I'll narrate for those who are listening. She's walking over to go grab the box. But what I really like about this particular solution is you get a box with the name of the recipient on it. All right, here we go.
So, call to action. It's a wood crate with a call to action. Let's connect. The back has a name or something personalized.
Cool.
And inside the box, you get some amazing beverage, wine, a cocktail, some mixer, some chocolate truffles, and then monogram personalized mugs. So this would have a JC on it.
Mm-hmm.
So as you open it up, your name would be on the box to make the box a keepsake. Your name would be on the mugs, which would feel like a gift, not an advertising promotional item.
Yep.
And inside, we do an audio or video card that says, let's connect, because that's our call to action. And you open it up, and there is your handsome face saying, hey, Andrea, I'm so sorry we can't get together for our Friday lunch this week. How about we each pour a Kentucky Mule, meet on Zoom at 1, and catch up? And you know what? They do, because this is going to their house, and it feels like a present. It is not a box of oranges, which is lovely, but the Fruit of the Month Club doesn't cut it for a client that spends $100,000 or $1 million a year with you.
Right.
And an iPad seems like a bribe, because it's a little too much.
Yeah.
So we're going for kind of sharing a fun experience. And it's working. People are calling their clients, which is great, because a salesperson right now in this time period, nobody wants to hear from a salesperson.
Right.
But getting some fun, delightful gift feels kind of fun. So we're working with wealth advisors and insurance agencies, CEOs of companies. We're working with some advancement officers for universities who are courting big donations. So it's anyone that you really want to get some quality time with in a novel way.
It's a cool idea. And I know you're a fan of John Ruhlin, the work he does. He's the author of the book Giftology.
I love John Ruhlin. I read his book and have seen him speak a few times. So as I was building this, I actually have spoken with him, and I was at a seminar of his earlier this spring, and he is very big on having an artifact to leave behind.
Yeah.
But I spoke with him about kind of adding the food and drink component. And to me, it's more than a gift box. It's not just a generic present, because it's so personalized. And it's very hard to send wine around the country. If anyone's tried to send alcohol as a gift, it's very challenging. So we have boxes with wine, with hard liquor, and then without. We have a coffee box, like if you wanted to meet your client for coffee, that has coffee syrup and a French press that you put the family name on, that sort of thing. Something with wine and a cheese board and cheese and pate. So just kind of replicating different experiences of dinner or drinks or going out.
And the thing you were kind of hinting at, and I'll encourage anyone who's listening to this to go back and check out my interview with John a while back on my podcast. But he's not a big fan of just sending food or consumable to people. Why is that?
That is because you want this to be, why do I not have my props close?
I need to have them nearby.
You want your initials on this, so you're going to hold on to this and keep it. A bottle of booze is one thing. It's lovely. A pound cake is lovely, but it disappears.
Yeah.
So sending something with your name on it, you're going to keep it. If I send something with Boxperience on it, you're going to be like, I'm going to pull these out when my guests are over.
Yeah.
So the idea is you do something personalized for a gift that someone is going to hold on to and remember, because then every time they pull this crate out and see their name on it, even if it's only got their kids' Matchbox cars in it or garden tools in the garage, they're going to think about you.
Yeah. I still have in my kitchen, in our knife block, a beautiful Cutco knife that says the Corcoran family on it, which came from attending a conference, but John advised the conference on that strategy of sending out the knife beforehand. It's super effective. So the hope is that the cheese board that has your family name on it is going to sit in your kitchen just like that knife. Right. And I should mention Mastermind Talks with Jason Gaynard is the one who did that. I want to compare, take me back. So, in 2008, was our last big major financial crisis. How was that different for you? And you said that, that time you think you didn't react quick enough.
So when 9/11 happened, I really wasn't ready at all. It probably took me 6 months to react. When 2008 happened, I was in the process of joining EO and getting involved in the Entrepreneurs Organization, which was super pivotal for me. And I was buying a new space. I had gotten to a point in my company where I needed to grow it or give it up. It was in that in-between space. So I bought a 5,000 square foot space and built out a commercial kitchen, which took lots of time and lots of money and a lot of brain cells and energy. And so got this space, and a week after we closed, the market crashed.
Jeez.
And I had tripled my overhead, my
Wow.
expected overhead by buying this space, and had just planned to triple my revenue because it seemed like a good idea. I didn't really do a whole business plan thing about that. I just figured I would sell more because I'd have a bigger place. That might have been a bit naive, because then the market crashed and corporate stopped ordering. I was doing a fair amount of work with universities that stayed, but I had an employee who was working at Harpo Productions, which is Oprah Winfrey's company, and they were looking for a new caterer. And I was in this space, and they're like, do you want to come do a tasting? And I was like, yes. And then I got terrified. So we prepared 4 kinds of chicken and steak and shrimp and pasta and potatoes and grilled vegetables and roasted vegetables and 3 different salads. And I mean, 2 tables full of food.
And you bring them down. So you bring them down to Harpo Productions, Oprah Winfrey's company.
To Harpo and set up like 2 tables full of food.
And are you at this point? Are you thinking that Oprah's going to walk in, or are you just thinking someone else within the company?
I wasn't sure who would be there exactly.
Okay.
I was a nervous wreck. Because I felt like a lot was riding on it, which it was. And
when was this? Is it in the depths of the crisis, or?
No, this would have been probably spring, summer 2009. So maybe 6 months after the crisis.
Okay, still not a great circumstance.
No, I mean, the economy was bad in 2009. So we were still there, and we needed work. And I went there and met with the person who ran their catering internally. Oprah popped through. She did not hang out, but she did taste our grilled vegetables and loved them. And
what was that like when Oprah popped through?
Cool. It was pretty cool. Like, she's bigger than life. I mean, in Chicago, she is truly an icon. I mean, in our country, she's truly an icon. And so I grew up watching her. And so it was pretty unbelievable and magical being there.
Yeah. You wonder sometimes with someone like that if she's larger than life because of her fame, or if it's something having to do with the personality, that if she didn't have the fame, she would still have, the temperature in the room would change when she enters the room.
I think she's one of those people that has that charisma, that has that curiosity about people, that just opens up rooms, that makes people open up to her. I think she found a great way to utilize it. And obviously capitalize on it. But about a week later, they said they wanted to give us a try. And so we started doing dinners and free range everything. And Tuesday was Spanish food, and Thursday was Italian, and Monday was
what were these different events that they were hosting?
So they were, we did dinner for the staff between shows. So they had about 100 people that worked at 5 different buildings, because they had the magazine, they had website, were producing her shows.
Yeah.
So they would all come to one building for dinner every night.
Got it. Okay.
So we did dinner. It's a couple nights a week. And it was great. It was 10 minutes from our office.
And regular, consistent work too.
Regular, consistent work at a time when the world was not very regular and consistent.
Right.
Uncertainty abounded. And it, for me, changed my perspective of how we saw ourselves. I was this little caterer doing little things, and all of a sudden we were good enough for Oprah Winfrey, and it opened tremendous numbers of doors. At that same time as we started doing that, I got involved in EO, and all of a sudden I was doing Help a Reporter Out, and I was on CNN Money and MSNBC, and then they're showing that we're catering for Oprah Winfrey on MSNBC, and all of a sudden more doors opened. So that work with Oprah helped change our companies. Did you have other interactions with Oprah, and what was it like being around her other times? She wasn't usually there when we were setting up dinner. Yeah. She had other things to do, but we occasionally did small dinners in her office when she had guests and stuff. She was always very gracious. She didn't really hang out with me or anything, but we got to be in her presence, and it felt pretty cool. Tell us about joining EO Accelerator, because around the same time you joined EO Accelerator, and what EO Accelerator is. Sure. So EO is the Entrepreneurs Organization. We have about 15,000 members globally. And the same time I was buying this space, I was about 12 years into my company and realized that I had done kind of everything that was in my head. And at that point, felt kind of competitive with other caterers. Like you didn't want to tell them your secrets, so you didn't hang out with other caterers. You didn't connect with other people. And I was invited to this breakfast, and it was at a fancy club in the Aon building. And it was all these young guys in suits. And I'm like, what am I doing here? This is not my crowd. But they sang my tune. And it was all about learning and growing yourself as a leader and as a business person to make your company better. So I signed up. I was in their Accelerator Program, which was for companies between $250,000 and $750,000 in revenue. And the plan was to help accelerate your growth up over $1 million within 3 years' time. I jumped in, drank the Kool-Aid, and in about 18 months graduated into EO, hit my $1 million in revenue. And it felt really exciting. And I did course corrections. I didn't totally change my company, but it helped me figure out how to hire better people, how to deal with my finances better, how to cut my expenses 1% here and here and here, which all of a sudden added up to real money. So it became a new place for me to grow and learn. And I became very involved in leadership in EO. So I eventually took over learning events for our chapter. We have monthly learning and social events. And then there's something called Forum, where you get together with 8 to 10 members in non-competing businesses once a month for a 4-hour meeting. And you talk about your challenges and you talk about your opportunities and what we call the 5% that you don't share with the rest of the world. Like maybe you just made $1 million bonus and you can't really go into the office and tell everybody because they'll put out their hands looking for theirs. Or maybe you can't make payroll this week and you don't necessarily want to go home and tell your spouse because he will wonder, how are we going to pay our rent and what's going to happen? And you know you're going to figure it out, but you haven't quite figured it out yet. And so it's a safe space to kind of share these experiences, because as entrepreneurs, most of us do not have unique experiences. We've all gone through awesome times and challenging times, but to all of a sudden sit with 8 people who have another perspective on it and are experience sharing, not telling you what to do, is really powerful. So jumped in, dove in, got in leadership, was on the board, spent 5 years doing local leadership, ended up president of the chapter, which again felt really, really special. It's a chapter with 150 members with businesses from $1 million to $50 million in revenue. And I was a smaller business and I was a woman. EO's only 15 to 20% women today. And so it felt really good that they were acknowledging that the kind of leadership that I brought to the table was also important and relevant. I wasn't necessarily the one up at the whiteboard designing strategy, but I'm really about connection and developing our people and bringing people together in community. So I had an amazing year. I then moved on into our regional leadership and hosted a regional conference for 400 members from around the world that was based on leadership. And the last 5 years, I've been in global position, working on helping get more women and young members involved in leadership in our organization, because we know that diversity is really important. So we need to bring in more women, more minorities, more younger members, so that we all have a broader and more vital experience. And on July 1st, I'm super excited to announce I was appointed the champion for the women of EO. So we have about 2,000 women members in our organization. And so we are proud to be part of this organization, but women do have some different experiences than male entrepreneurs. So we have some opportunities to get together and share those experiences. And I got to saber off a champagne bottle and have a lot of fun. And we'll be I'll be hosting a conference on women's leadership in Bali in June. So
June of next year?
June of next year. It was
good.
From this August. So not this year, next year, 2021.
Next year, 2021. Okay. Hope it happens. Hope it doesn't have to get postponed.
Too.
Yeah.
Me too. So EO is amazing.
Yeah. I was talking to a friend this weekend who follows the pharmaceutical industry very closely, and he says that there'll be a vaccine in the fourth quarter of 2020. He's fairly certain about that, which he previously said first quarter 2021. So that's pretty good. I'll just second what you said about EO Accelerator. I've been in Accelerator for about 2 years now in San Francisco. And you're right. It's an amazing tool for making course corrections. I look back at where we were 2 years ago, and we were trying to build like 4 businesses at once, distinctly different from each other, really like distilled down and focused things. So I'll just second that. I want to ask though, how has the network, in particular your forum, without, of course, sacrificing or jeopardizing any forum confidentiality, but how has the group helped you during this difficult time, or the broader network of people around? How has it helped you through this pivot?
So I would say the first thing it did 10 years ago was it helped me look up and outward as opposed to down at my desk, right? Like, I can work hard. I can work super, super hard, but you can only get so much done if you're looking down and rolling at 100 miles an hour. So giving yourself the grace and the time to kind of look up and say, what's out there when it's amazing and it's blue skies, or when there's kind of stormy, turbulent skies. So I would say the first thing EO gave me was it encouraged me to dream and to see bigger things and see opportunities. That I decided to start a company in a month. Like, I gave myself 37 days to start a company. That was crazy. Like, it was crazy. But nobody thought it was crazy. They were like, awesome, go ahead. What do you need? How can we help? So one friend said, let me help you with branding, and someone else is helping me with sales, and other people are saying, oh, let me share your information with this one. You should talk to so-and-so. EO has supported me in this change in kind of understanding that I'm going through it. I've also been involved in leadership, and I'm still trying to support other members that are going through challenging times. And I think it's important for us. Like, not everybody's sales are up 1,000% because they're selling PPE right now.
Right. Yeah.
And so to say, yup, I'm here and I'm working hard and I'm trying to figure it out, and I have support to do this. And if I have a really hard day, there are people that I can talk to. I can be on my Saturday night, 8:00 Zoom call with my gals from around the world, and everyone can share kind of what's going on. Or I can be our local chapters had a town hall every Thursday from 2 to 3 for needs and leads and sharing experiences. I've had people just call and check on me. And again, I've had people help me launch this company. So it's been invaluable. I don't know that I could do it without this group support.
Yeah. So as things come back, what do you said your catering company is in hibernation, I think was the word you used. How do you decide on where to put your emphasis if people start making catering purchases again?
It's really hard right now.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I'm working harder than I have in a long time. I spent like 4 months traveling last year, and it was awesome. I had a spectacular year. I was in Africa. I was in France. I was in Aruba. I was in Colombia. I did my
for
first
pleasure or for pleasure or projects?
A lot of EO and a lot of pleasure.
Okay.
A little work, in France. Yeah. I checked out some food I might want to serve. But mostly
that counts. Sure.
Mostly I was really living the entrepreneurial dream.
Yeah, that's cool.
And this year I am working harder than I probably have in the last 10 years. I'm in startup mode. Like, I have a 25-year-old company. I'm in startup mode again and trying to figure out business cards and who is my client and where are they and how do I connect with them? Sorry, I just lost track of where.
Just asking about where to put your emphasis on the catering company or Boxperience.
So I have one. So I think both of these companies can coexist. I have a 5,000 square foot space. We are doing some catering, but not quite enough. Well, not nearly enough. But there's room right now for both to coexist in this space. I have 4 staff people that are here that are working Amazing Edibles. I'm still doing a couple hours of Amazing Edibles, reaching out to foundations to try to get work with them, talking to legacy clients, dealing with liquor license renewals, etc. But I'm spending probably 70% of my time on Boxperience and trying to get clients and trying to sell and trying to schmooze and figure out lead generation and figure out who my target is and reconfigure. So I think the reality is I will probably have 2 businesses into the next year.
And maybe that's a great thing too. I've always admired, businesses where they're diversified against downturns, where they have businesses that thrive in up markets and businesses that thrive in down markets. Yes, I thought that's a great way to diversify.
Very honestly, this pandemic is really bad for Amazing Edibles, like really, really bad. It's kind of good for Boxperience. I think this box can be a connection box for people all the time, as a door opener, as a way to connect with your clients. But when you really can't go visit them in person, it's an even more valuable product.
Right.
So that it's bad for this company and good for this company is a little bit weird. The
Right.
boxes also I can do in off hours. Catering, someone wants a party on Thursday, you got to cook
Right.
the food Wednesday and Thursday and deliver it. So I think they can coexist. And I think I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think one, to your point earlier, you said you had 4 companies and now you've kind of narrowed it down to 2-ish.
Yeah. No, I'd say one now.
Oh,
Yeah.
one. Okay.
Yeah.
But with different branches of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's sustainable long term. I think I will have to build out teams again. But
Yeah.
for right now, it'll work.
Right. Right. The other thing I was going to ask you, and I think I asked a version of this to John Rulin when I had him on, but when your business is fundamentally, helping people to get clients using a lead generation strategy, then does that mean that your hands are tied and you kind of have to use that, but in the case of John Rulin, he mailed people like a sauna, mailed someone a sauna, another person, Cameron Harold, he filled his hotel room with all these expensive suits. Yeah. So I just thought, man, that's got to be very expensive. Of course, the counter argument was, well, actually the alternative is more expensive and that's why he does it. So for you then, are you finding yourself that you're having to ship out these boxes to everyone? Is that the strategy you're using in order to get clients? Or do you, for example, like Google, they're known for doing everything digital, but they actually one of the biggest direct mail companies out there because they send postcards, ironically, in the mail to businesses in order to get digital marketing clients. So what's your approach?
So I sent about 50 boxes out to influencers just to kind of get the idea around. And so you may have seen some box opening videos because they're fun and delightful and they surprise people and it's really cool and fun. And I wanted to get feedback from people. I'm actually doing it kind of old fashioned with emails and connections on LinkedIn and sending pictures and asking questions. Are you having trouble connecting with your clients? And if you are, and I'm targeting industries and reaching out and having conversations. This to me, if I can find a company that has 10 salespeople and they each have 10 top clients, what a great thing to touch them. Or they're in a bunch of industries, in insurance, and they're selling to these kind of clients and these kind of clients and these kind of clients. I think they're not going to send this to the same client every month, but they may hit this industry this month and this industry next month. So I don't think it has to be boxes. It was boxes for influencers. I sent them to some people you probably know, like Jack Daly and John Spence, and who else did I send to? David Rendell and Brene Brown and people that I thought might be into connection and might be into appreciating clients. So I did do some of that. But really the people who are buying them are just people who are having a hard time getting in touch with their clients and say, this could work. It's about the price of an expensive lunch out. And so if you're taking clients out for lunch, this is kind of instead of that. It's not really an advertising piece. It's more travel and entertainment budget.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's great. Andrea, really interesting, great story. Thank you for sharing your experience here and kind of how you've learned from it. I want to wrap things up with the question I always ask, which is, let's pretend we're at an awards banquet, much like the Oscars or the Emmys, and you are receiving an award for lifetime achievement for everything you've done up until this point. And in addition to family and friends, who else do you acknowledge in your remarks?
Sure. I would acknowledge Warren Rustand, who you may have heard about. He's a big deal in the EO community. He is the dean of our leadership academy and is a mentor to me and has really changed my life and added depth and encouragement and opportunity and a little tough love on occasion to help me grow. I would thank EO because, again, between forum mates and like Sunny Belani and Kevin Hundle and people in the Women of EO, like Winnie Hart and Katty Duragi and Laura Webb and Fran Biederman Gross and Susan Linder and people that helped me open doors and helped me see kind of my own potential and helped me to serve. And I'm going to say my son, Jake, because even though you said besides family and friends, he inspires me I look at him and I see joy and goodness, and it makes me want to do more and be better.
That's great. That's great. Well, Andrea, thank you so much. And tell everyone where they can go learn more about you and Boxperience and Amazing Edibles and connect with you.
You can find us at boxperience.net for our Boxperiences. And if you want to cater an event in Chicago or want me to fly somewhere else and cater your event, you can find us at cateramazing.com. And I am so grateful for being on your podcast today. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andrea.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast with John Corcoran. Find out more at smartbusinessrevolution.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list and join the revolution.
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 And be listening for the next episode of the Smart Business Revolution podcast.